Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a look at our DBQ that we're working on, the Battle of Gettysburg. Why was it a turning point? You've been already looking at documents, looking at this handout. And today specifically, we're going to take a look at the introduction and getting a start on that. You young ladies and gentlemen have gotten so good at doing this, but we'll just review the introduction one more time. So I'm just scrolling down in my handout to this section here that says Essay Outline Guide Introduction. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the parts of the introduction again. We've got our hook. Background information just kind of sets the stage for us. I just took out the part about the question to be asked. You can answer it if you want. This one it doesn't work quite as well for. And then we have our thesis statement and our roadmap, which shows our organizational parts. Usually I tell people to just wait on the hook, but I prepared a little bit ahead of time. And so what I did was I Googled Gettysburg primary sources, or just primary source, and you'll see this came up. And so I just started scrolling down. Okay, Robert E. Lee's account of the battle. Well, I know that we already have 2 letters from him. I did actually look at George Meade's, and I had a hard time. He was the Union general. I had a hard time finding something that I wanted to use. Okay, I think I looked at that one a little bit, but then I came to this one and it caught my interest. It said, Eyewitness to History, Battle of Gettysburg, the Battle of Gettysburg through the eyes of a 15-year-old girl. And I like that. So I went there, and of course I had to scroll down and I read this information up here. And I found here that they have the memories of a teenage girl, and I thought that that was going to be interesting. Tilly Pierce. All right, so this is the name of the young lady, and she is someone who lives in Gettysburg. She's lived in Gettysburg, I believe, her whole life. Her father is a butcher. Anyway, as I was reading her words that she said, I came upon this part right here, and I kind of liked this quote right here. What a horrible sight. There they were, human beings clad in almost rags, covered with dust, riding wildly pell-mell down the hill toward our home, shouting, yelling, most unearthly, cursing, brandishing their revolvers and firing right and left. So I'm actually going to use that quote for my hook. Let's put it here. And when I do that, I've got to make sure I lost my quotation mark there. When I do this, I have to make sure that I kind of make a connection to this. And I'm going to say this quote was by, I'm going to go back and look at her name here again. Nope, wrong one. By Tilly Pierce. By Tilly Pierce, a 15-year-old girl who lived in Gettysburg. She was referring to the Confederate soldiers. All right, and then I'm going to come down here, and this is where I'm just going to set the stage. The battle, maybe I'm going to say a large battle took place in Gettysburg during the Civil War. I'm going to tell the dates. July 1st through the 3rd. Large battle took place in Gettysburg during the Civil War on July 1st through July 3rd. All right. And now I'm going to put my thesis statement. And if you remember, if you want to check back here, we helped you out with a couple thesis statements that we have here. So we might say something like the Battle of Gettysburg was a major turning point in the Civil War, or most historians consider the Battle of Gettysburg to be a major turning point for the North in the Civil War. Remember, if you're going for a 4 level, you need to use one of these words because you're going to have to address at least one other thing that is, was considered another turning point, and you're going to have to tell why Gettysburg was more important. I am going to use this one right here. Scrolling back here. And so right here for my thesis, I'm just going to put this in. Get rid of that. So I'm going to go back and reread this now. So I've got my hook. This quote was by Tilly Pierce, a 15-year-old girl who lived in Gettysburg. She was referring to the Confederate soldiers who had descended on Gettysburg. A large battle took place in Gettysburg during the Civil War on July 1st through 3rd. I went back to read it to make sure it sounded smooth enough. Okay, so a large battle took place in Gettysburg during the Civil War on July 1st through 3rd. Most historians consider the Battle of Gettysburg to be a major turning point for the North in the Civil War. And I'm just going to, instead of consider, I'm going to say most historians have been, I'm going to say to have been. I'm just going to change this a little bit. To have been a major turning point for the North in the Civil War. Our roadmap is our reasons, and if we go back and take a look at our buckets where we kind of organize things, then we took a look and put them on our chicken feet. That's what we're taking a look at now. A roadmap, organizational parts. What are our paragraphs, our body paragraphs going to be about? All right, so once again, you notice how I keep going back and rereading. Most historians consider the Battle of Gettysburg to have been a major turning point for the North in the Civil War. And so I'm going to say reasons for this include, I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. You may have, depending on what you guys came up with as a class, you may just have come up with your own organizational parts, so they don't have to be exactly the same as mine. But I'm going to say reasons for this include the South suffered a higher percentage of casualties. The Southern morale was lowered. That doesn't sound exactly right, but we'll come back and fix that. And the North raised, and the offensive into the North didn't work. Okay, sorry, you can't see that there. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to go ahead and put this all together into a paragraph. So this all right here, this right here, all of this is going to go into a paragraph right here. One thing I want to remind you of when you put it into a paragraph, copying here, is of course, this isn't going to work out when I paste it. Maybe a little bit. Make sure that you indent. So we want to tab over and we want to indent the start of our introduction. And then I would go back and add all the rest for my introduction. Once again, I've got a hook, some background, just kind of setting the stage. You may want to ask the question, why was the Battle of Gettysburg a turning point? I've got my thesis statement, and then my organizational parts. And that's just so simple when you're doing this introduction. You kind of follow that format. All right, thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen.